And you are unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Calling to order Planning and Zoning Commission for the Town of Telluride, Thursday, July 24th, 2025 at 5:30 PM. And roll call.
Oh,
Charles?
Vijay Benton here.
Let's start that way.
Vijay Benton here.
Todd Brown.
Kathy Green.
Angela Dye.
Charles Dalton.
Okay, we are down, we have a vacancy and we have one person on vacation, Peter, and in the room we have staff. Want to identify yourself, please?
Sure. Kristen Clothier, Historic Preservation and Planning Director.
Trudeau, Plan 2.
And we have council liaison.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ally?
No.
Her mouth is full. Ally Stanton, council. And Piper Miller. Yeah. There isn't anybody else hiding over there. Okay. So just a note here, let's put the roll call as part of the agenda.
Sure.
So, because it's not listed.
Sure.
That'd be great. And approval of minutes. We have minutes from June 22nd, or excuse me, 26th, 2025. Any comments or I'll entertain a motion? They're okay.
Todd moves to accept the minutes as presented from June 26th.
Second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Not that there was any, but. All right, Charles, how do you vote?
Charles, yes.
Todd?
Todd, yes.
Vijay, yes. Kathy, yes.
Angela, yes. So they have passed. Anybody for public comment? Not in the room, I see, but Piper, anyone online?
There's no one with their hand raised for public comment.
Okay. We'll move on. Work session on the comprehensive plan update and next steps. Kristen, you're going to update us on how things have been going this week, right?
Yes, thank you so much. So as you all know, this was our big comprehensive plan community kickoff week. We have been going nonstop since you last saw us on Monday. The Planning and Zoning Commission was the first touch point for that kickoff week with our consulting team from Logan Simpson and our historic preservation planning and building staff. So thank you for kicking us off. Since then, we have had numerous engagement events. We've been all around the community, roundtables, discussions, and I'll kind of give you a highlight overview of some of what took place since we last saw you. Oh, I just realized I'm not sharing my slides. Hang on one moment. I'm seeing them here.
Is the
moment.
consultant going to participate or no? They're on their way.
They
right? They're
are
driving?
traveling back as we speak, so I am covering this for the team.
Okay.
So yes, so one more moment. All right. This will take us, there we go. Now it's caught up. So here's our quick recap. First, thank you to each of you. I saw so many of you and multiple times in some cases out at the events throughout the week. So grateful for that and for your participation on Monday at the P&Z work session on the comprehensive plan. As you all are familiar with now, but just for the benefit of community members who may be listening or watching, we're in phase 1 of a 3-phase planning process currently. This process will continue for a full year through next June. We are moving speedily through phase 1, and I will give you some quick updates. Phase 1 includes making sure the community is aware of the process, reminding the community of and building upon the community vision, which was established in 2023 through a collaborative process with the community, start tracking demographic info, who we are hearing from, and begin to get feedback on high-level issues and opportunities. So this is what transpired this week following the P&Z work session. We had a community kickoff event at Telco. We had about 90 participants. It was terrific. I can say that we had a lot of younger attendees as well, including elementary schoolers who were willing to step up and share their ideas for the future of this community, which was incredible. And so that was a great way to kick it off right on Main Street in the center of things. We then moved into Tuesday, which included listening sessions. We were out at Town Park as a big team and had about 30 people stop to engage there one morning. We then had a HARC work session that day over at the library to gain insight on the historic preservation perspective. And then that evening, we held a community advisory committee meeting. Was the first of 6 community advisory committee meetings, and there are representatives from each of our commissions, town council, our town manager serves on that. And so that's a group that comes together to help throughout touch points along the process, as does P&Z, more times with the P&Z, but that group is to bring different perspectives to those milestones along the way. On Wednesday morning, we kicked it off with listening sessions at Elks Park. I had about 60 people stop, and the numbers are the engagement numbers. So those who actually stopped, connected, did an action, put a Post-it note, took a survey, those kinds of activities, spoke with staff, spoke with the consultants. We then moved, so then we sort of started to multitask, and we were in different places. So staff stayed outdoors at the park. I came in and worked with town council, did a work session with them, gained some excellent insights on opportunities for engagement, perspectives. It was a really interactive session, which I really appreciated. Town council taking the time to have the day after a town council meeting. So all of you, town council, HARC, Planning and Zoning Commission, thank you for going above and beyond the past 4 days. I know it was a lot, but it was, we had those consultants here for a narrow window of time, and we took full advantage of every moment they were here. We then my staff consulting team, and led by Lance, who is an amazing tour guide. We went in a van, drove around town, and got the consultants familiar with the history of this place, as well as where we are in the present, and then future pipeline projects and future potential opportunities. So that was great to bring the consultants really in a hands-on way through the community and really frame the work they're doing in the year ahead. We then had that evening, this is Wednesday evening now, all of this happened very quickly. So this was last night. We had our staff, the consultants, over at the Gondola Plaza, and we set up a couple tents, had all the displays. Oh, I forgot to bring them down. We'll grab them somewhere along the way so you can see what has been added to them since you saw them during that first touch point with you. But we had over 200 people that we actually engaged with, and we probably connected with additional people, but those were, again, people we had one-on-one communication with. We handed them the survey QR codes to so many people, and really had a lot of opportunities to have conversations with people who are year-rounders, visitors, first-timers, annual visitors, all ages, from all over. So it was great for my team. I want to pause for a moment and recognize my team, because they put in so much time and above and beyond in terms of their commitment to this process. So thank you to Ben and to Darren Candelaria, who is our historic preservation planner, Tammy Brand, who is our department coordinator, and Tommy Steinke, who is our building inspector, all of who invested a tremendous amount of time these past 4 days. So then this morning, we were over at the library, and we had roundtable events. For those, we had 3 roundtables, sort of groups in the morning, and then sort of mid-morning, so 2 groups, and then different breakouts within those groups on different topics, with staff and consultants facilitating. And those were just these wonderful discussions on topics, really gaining insights. And I'm going to have, once I'm done sort of sharing this quick overview, I want to sort of look to you to share some of what you saw out on the ground because I know a number of you were at various parts of this. And I also have some questions for you to gain further input as we move forward in the process. So the roundtables, this was the first set of those, and we really hope to have a number of roundtables moving forward through the year and bringing together different groups, different perspectives. Some will be on specific topics, like we had discussed together here, the youth-focused, small businesses, but also housing as a topic, or picking specific topics, bringing people together, opening them up to the community, and letting people who are interested in specific topics engage in a very interactive way for an hour and a half. And I'll then, right before this, the last thing on this full 4-day schedule was myself and a couple of our consultants, we had a roundtable with our department heads and asked for their insight from their perspectives and their departments to this very early stage of this planning process. And they will have clearly touch points along the way as well, but asking them to think about what are their highest level priorities that tie into this bigger picture of the comprehensive plan. So we make sure there's consistency throughout town, that the comprehensive plan really points down to the plans that are, for example, in Parks and Recreation, and the more detailed execution plans. And these are the big picture implementation strategies for the town that really have to synthesize all of that. So that was a great discussion. All of this is getting compiled by the consultants, and so we'll be able to report out in depth on what we heard, but we can all take a moment to share some of what we heard during this week. So here we are at the P&Z recap, last thing on this 4-day schedule. Moving forward, right now through the end of August, the first questionnaire, each questionnaire is just like 3 minutes or less, and we've been talking about it. Originally, there were going to be just 2 more of these, but I think what we're going to do is just have like 2 or 3 questionnaires that kind of hit maybe monthly, so that it's like this month is housing, and maybe we'll do a little roundtable on housing, a little survey on housing, and perhaps a pop-up on the topic. And so that we're really giving some focused, quick, get as much input as we can. We leaned away from a big community survey, which you often see with comprehensive plans, because we have an annual town community survey, which had just been done. And we didn't want to recreate that. We wanted to dig deeper into specific topics, but also we know that taking surveys is work, and we want these to be, high response rate, quick hits. And then there will also be virtual listening session opportunities. So if any of you want to engage with our consultants for a conversation to share further input that you'd like to give early on, we can set that up as well. And you can sign up through our website. So I talked about numbers of participants. These are just some photos from the events. Lots of energy. And we really, at the gondola, it was perfect because we had a captive audience. They were all in line for quite some time. So everyone got spoken to, and it was amazing. And we had one big rush before people went up to listen to music, and then another huge rush right after the dinner crowd got out of dinner. And so it was perfect.
Hey, how late were you there?
I was there. I think I was still grabbing people until 10 to 7, probably. I mean, it was just like nonstop. It was hard to leave because there were so many people. It was like this opportunity. So we were supposed to end at 6 o'clock, but then this whole other wave came. So, may as well take advantage of it. This was the roundtables this morning over at the library. And just so you all know, for this first set of roundtables, they included like a P&Z member in each group, town council, and then representatives from many, many stakeholder groups from the community and the region. So one of the questions we were asking is for people to share their vision, core values, review what had come through from the vision planning process 2 or 3 years ago, and then determining whether that vision still applies, whether they felt it was still something that should carry forward, and what they felt was missing from that vision statement. We also, as you know, from seeing it earlier this week, we're asking for additional stats that people were looking for. And there are just a few listed here, like GHG emissions, further breakdown of housing statistics, regional statistics as comparison, number of children, number of retirees. We heard many more things, and we will give you a full summary of what we heard. And then we're looking to you. We asked department heads earlier today, and I'm going to have them give their input on metrics and like data points, metrics, information that they need to run their departments, our needs as a community for planning. And so please, that's a real opportunity to give further input as we move forward, because they're now moving into phase 2, which is that research phase and data collection phase. So how to help, really, huge to use your networks. I'd be so appreciative if you're willing to let everyone know that this is happening. I'm sure you're already doing that, but trying to encourage as many people to then encourage other people to engage in the survey, engage in these sessions, really participate. Sure.
There was a handout, a little slip.
I have a bunch of those
Good.
and I will offer them. Absolutely. Anyone willing to
That,
take them.
if you have a neighbor or something, you
Yeah.
can leave that kind of thing with them. So,
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. They're sitting right on my desk.
yeah,
We can run up and grab them. There's like a ton of, I have a
Yeah.
big pile, so that'd be great. So encouraging people to take that online questionnaire, and then signing up for one-on-one interviews. If someone lets you know that they missed the chance to come out, they really want to share something early on, please send them to the website. They can sign up and we will get those scheduled with them. And that's just for right now. And then there's lots more coming.
Has anyone done the online questionnaire? It just went live, so I don't know.
Yeah, just a
how many
couple,
chance.
like the first day of this week. Yeah, Monday.
Might have done
I did it,
Great.
and it's not a 3-minute exercise. It's
How long-
more than that.
Oh, did it take longer than 3?
Yeah,
they were
because
trying to
they're
make it
very
very short.
thoughtful questions.
Oh, this is true.
And you have to
this is
kind
true.
of, yeah,
This is true.
yeah.
So maybe the first one's the hardest one because it is about vision, values, like those, maybe
Yeah, I
that's
thought
part.
the next one was,
Yeah, sure.
what was it? Or were there additional ones that,
Mm.
people were thinking about? Or
Right.
the last one I think they're all tough
Mhm.
in that we need to be really introspective and think about it.
True,
So
true.
give it some thought, please.
Wonderful. Thank you for taking the
And
time
then
to do that.
Engage Telluride, has everybody been there? EngageTelluride.org.
Yes, I have been.
There's a lot of information on that,
Okay.
about everything that's going on in town. So,
Yes, and
any
we will,
questions so
Is that
far?
the same when, right now I'm trying to open the town website on this little tiny thing. When I open it on my big machine,
yes,
I get this Engage Telluride page. But when I looked at it on Sunday before we started all this, because I wanted to catch up on things, it listed the sidewalks, the sewer,
yes.
the this, the that, and it did not list planning.
So
And I was
It's
like,
on there.
it's
on there
there.
now.
Yep. So
Tried it since then.
it had been listed sort of in the, like an inner side page with project listings. We now have it on the front featured
Good.
prominent spot on the front page with
Equity
there's
with
5
the
other projects.
projects.
Yeah. So it's very visible and that transition happened right on the first day of the kickoff. So on Monday. So
Okay,
you
yeah.
just missed it.
Really hard for it on Sunday and couldn't find it. but
Yes.
Whatever.
But no,
We're
I'm
just ahead of all of this.
exactly one day ahead. But we've caught up. Any other questions? Well, we're right at the spot. Okay. So I can just speak to some of the next steps briefly. There will be a kickoff events, just summary prepared of all the information, data collected. I
Is
will
that a
bring-
deliverable? That's like a report you're gonna? be
It's
getting, or-
more a working, like a working step in the process, but what I was planning to do is update this group in memo format at our
Yeah.
next meeting. So yes, but it's of course shared with the public, just not in a formal printed or website fashion yet. It's
Okay.
very early stages, so it's an
I think the
evolution.
memo to kind of summary is a good benchmark that
Yeah.
we can all refer to if we need.
Absolutely. So yes to that. And at that point too, by our next meeting, we will have input from the surveys and, just the preliminary, very preliminary at that point, because we'll just be a month in. The consulting team and staff are looking at the initial issues, opportunities that have been collected, and then also coming from staff as well. We're going to, and primarily this part will be led by the consultants, do an internal plan audit. So each of our department heads are sharing their most current plans and, again, the highest levels of those will feed up into the big picture comprehensive plan. So internal plan audit, existing conditions analysis, all this is primarily the consultant team, the online questionnaire, and it should say questionnaires because there will be one after another. This one will run till the end of August, and then we'll have another one, short one. We'll try to keep it to the 3 minutes. I might use you guys as testing
Mhm.
for them to see if we hit it perfectly. And then lots more. And so some of what, I'll stop this slideshow and now just kind of bring us together as a group.
Do we have anybody joining and Piper, if we don't, would you let us know?
Well, we do have some members of the public.
Do
yeah,
we?
But I'm not gonna announce their name unless they like raise their hand to speak.
Got it. And just for my benefit, so I can
Great,
call on them if they want to and give them a space to do that.
for sure.
I did want to state, with the survey, it being short and sweet, but I appreciate you saying it should be longer than 3 minutes in the sense of it being an open-ended deep question. I'm hoping others alongside yourself spend that time because they are
Yeah.
thought-provoking, but I think the general public will see kind of the length of it as well as it might be something that isn't as daunting as seeing a 7-page survey. But I do hope people spend as much time as you guys do.
It's short because there aren't that many questions. That doesn't mean it won't take
Correct.
time to answer.
That is true. Hopefully it feels less intimidating, perhaps. So I would very much like to pause for a moment and sort of reflect back at you. I'll share a few thoughts that we've been having as staff for sort of additional next steps to keep the momentum going. I'd also very much like to have your thoughts on what you saw out there before I go to that next step place. So those of you who got out in the field, and Kathy was amazing. She popped up at quite a number of pop-ups. And
Energizer Bunny.
we were so grateful to see her and all of you. So share some of what you heard.
Well, I just had a few comments.
Sure.
I said this to maybe Sophia or somebody at the end of the last one,
Hey.
of our kickoff meeting. Lachey was speaking about the really small businesses in our towns, but she was calling them small businesses that are getting forced out of existence or people that can't start up or whatever. And I learned this like 20 years ago, that a small business by the federal standards and the Small Business Association, maybe Telsky would be big enough, Alpine Bank or the real estate companies, if you count all their branches around the world or the state, would be big enough, but so I think we have to have a category that's like called tiny businesses, because that's what some of our quote unquote big Main Street businesses are, really tiny businesses, but then we have the really, really tiny businesses. And we have to reach out to both of those groups because that small business definition's a joke in our town.
So you're thinking the single sole proprietor or the 1 or 2 employee kind of size?
Yeah.
And then next might be, 5 and that's it. Like the
No.
bookstore, for instance, it's less than 10, maybe even less than 5. kind of.
Yeah, but it's, I don't think that it's easy when you have 15 or 20 employees. You're still pretty small. And once you're big enough once you're, my feeling from the construction point of view, either you had no employees or you had a lot because workman's comp or workers' comp is so expensive. And there's, once you trigger that, you have to have enough to make enough money to justify that. So, but anyway, we do need to help the startups. And if it's 2 owners trying to start something, then they can skate on the comp issue. And that's a really important thing. They can't skate on liability insurance. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up. Then I had a question on the tour when you went around in the bus. Did you just look at town things or did you look at like all the nonprofits and the clubs and that kind of stuff?
So this first tour was primarily focused on land use planning and sort of the built environment, I would say. I think it's very valuable and very important. Perhaps the next time the consultants come back on deck, because I would like to see a tour component for each one to focus on specific themes. I think it would be good to spend time on Main Street, like more time. We spent some, but there's a lot more there. Time with here's the nonprofits, here's what our needs are. So that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, and because I think our nonprofits and our clubs and stuff in town are really, really important. And some of them are very vulnerable, some of them have a fairly secure location. But we need to look at that, and I'm partly saying this. And I was like, trying to open something this morning, this thing popped up from the Atlantic magazine in January that I somehow did not read in my paper copy, which I've gotten rid of, that we need more parties. And I think what they were really getting at is we need more in-person social gatherings as a country and as humanity. It's like, but they only studied the United States. I think maybe we're better than average, but I know, some of these groups that are a way to bring people together in person are vulnerable to being, forced out of Telluride or becoming too expensive for a wider variety of people to participate. I think that's really important. They asked the question, like, when was the last time you went to a dinner party? When is the last time you had a dinner party or, or a luncheon? So, I mean, I'd really like to see us rekindle that, and whether we want to try to have a community potluck ever again or not. That we used to do that on the Valley Floor for Valley Floor Day. And it was pretty amazing. And Jane Hickox collected all these, it was, there was nothing thrown away. You brought your own plates, but she had all these serving spoons and stuff, whatever. I now have what's left of them, but anyway, I think we need to look back to creating those in-person informal interactions. There's no boards, there's no stickers, but just to get us all to feel comfortable coming together.
It's a great idea.
That's that third pillar, right? Connected?
Mhm.
That is part of the
Yeah.
vision plan?
I think we're still recovering from COVID and just like getting back together in the groove of having social, outside of festivals and, kind of reestablishing what you're talking about. It's important.
And as you're thinking about that topic, something I was speaking about with a different group as part of the comp plan earlier today is I've been doing a lot of thinking about just our infrastructure and our social infrastructure, like what community gathering spaces do we have in the town, and how can we foster those connections with the built environment, with activities, like how do we make that happen as part of this place? Because I hear the connection coming through. I hear the community building. And is that something we can add to our infrastructure? Is that community engagement piece and making sure we have both places, activities that draw people together. So I think, that topic, other people are voicing a need for already in the process for sure. So that's excellent. And
I think we're missing our community room that Voodoo took away, and it was maybe not used that much, but there were groups that used it regularly that are now struggling. So I think to find an equivalent equivalent meeting space that's not expensive. AHA and the Science Center have to charge real money because it's part of their annual income. They can't just give their spaces away weekly or frequently. So I think, and the library closes early, and the library rooms, if you go over there, there's times when every single room is
yes.
filled to the breaking point, so it's,
I wish you had been in our group this morning because that was exactly what we were talking about, but on the sense of infrastructure, pricing, having program that's flexible, that can take on more groups in a place, and the library had come up as it's right now kind of serving a lot of things, and it is max out at capacity per comments, and not relying on private onus to say, yes, we'll allow it to happen, but then having to renege because of pricing. And so I wish you'd been around for that because that was a really good conversation.
That's the town county building program.
Yeah.
but it's also gonna force the relocation of several nonprofits that are currently in the
Yes.
ancient building. And it's gonna fill up. I mean, these places have to be maybe not after 10 o'clock at night, but they can't close at 6 or 7, because for many people, you have to work your shift, maybe grab dinner and then go to your meeting or work till 5 or 6, and then start this meeting or this group. And not have to be forced out at 7 o'clock, when the library closes.
It's a good point.
Very important. I also don't want to lose your first thought. And, if there's more input to it, the small business piece, and I completely agree with you, the SBA, the way small businesses are defined is for much larger scale. And here, I think perhaps if you all supported this, I think perhaps one of those roundtables, staff is picturing perhaps once a month, we facilitate a roundtable set of discussions and like keep that momentum going until the consultants are back, and then we'll do some bigger events again. But maybe one could be that small business roundtable conversation, and really trying to hear we're already hearing now, and I've heard it before coming into this week, just being in this community for the time I've been, is that need for small businesses and nonprofits to have inexpensive workspaces, and the co-working spaces has come up, and ability to rent small business space, be it for the 1 to 2 staff, or I want to start a small business and be front facing. How do I make that possible? And I think being able to have those conversations, rich conversations early on, will benefit all the elements of the plan, which is the land use planning, the built environment, et cetera. So if that's something that you're interested in, we can also pull P&Z members into those conversations. So
Just some data to go with this.
yes, please.
I'm a couple of years out, but when I was working at ASAP, we did the bulk of local accounting and payrolls. And the sweet spot was less than 10 employees. The big guys, Paychex and the others, don't even want to start until you're at least 25.
Mhm.
But, and again, it's dated, but ASAP had over 100 clients that were fewer than 10 employees.
And what was your radius of operation?
That was primarily local.
That's
I mean, there was some in the Roaring Fork Valley and some over in Denver, but most of that's,
What about Durango?
yeah, some in Durango.
There's an
It
office there.
was 90+% was Telluride.
nice.
Mm.
So thank you for sharing that too, Todd, to know your experience.
Can you
with
guys
small
speak in the
businesses.
microphone?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to thank you for sharing that and to learn more about your rich experience with small businesses as we're talking about pulling together discussions. I just want to make sure that we're inviting those who have experience in that space to be part of that conversation.
Is this a good time to ask the public if they want to chime in? Are they still there?
We do just remind them to raise their hands digitally if they'd like
Yep.
to speak.
So we will open it to anyone who wants to comment on what we've been talking about here on the comp plan. And this is a work session. Raise your hand, use the raise your hand function on Zoom, or assume we're on Zoom. It's a hybrid meeting, so if you want to chime in an idea, we'll give you a minute or two to do that. Otherwise, we'll keep going.
There are no hands raised.
Okay, great. So what more we have in terms of our agenda? You've given us an overview. So are we at that point? Do you have anything else to add?
I think I just want to make sure that everyone's had the opportunity to share input, and Charles, I'll put you on the spot, and Lishay, just
Yep.
as we're in this early stage, as you've been part of it from day one of the kickoff, and you've been at the engagement events as well, what are your thoughts that will help us know either information we should be collecting or the types of events that you feel would be engaging, topics for future discussions? This is that chance before we start taking that next step in the planning on our staff side as the
So
consultants
even-
are moving forward on the research side.
Yeah, and even just impressions of what
and impressions would be
Great, so
wonderful.
that'd Be great. Charles, do you have anything?
So just from the roundtable this morning, obviously the big discussion in my group was housing and identifying the sites that are still available. And of course, the Valley Floor came up as it will never end, that discussion. One thing that did come out of that is maybe it needs to be a bigger push or understanding to people that the Valley Floor is the Valley Floor, and it's conservation easement, and that's what it's going to be, and we need to move on past
Yeah.
second guessing what was done.
Need to go to a
Years
realtor
ago.
meeting.
Well,
They keep bringing.
there
it
was
up.
a realtor at my, table. So.
Anything else?
No, I don't think my original table did not was supposed to be small business people, I think, and we did not have enough people at my table to have a discussion. So that's maybe just how we can get those people. And then I think it's probably hard to get those people at 9 or 11 o'clock or whatever in the middle of the day. So maybe we need to look at a early evening or lunchtime,
Stephen.
give them breakfast, give them lunch, trying to get some of them to be able to participate.
That timing piece is really important.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing it up.
Lishay?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like what Charles was describing and wondering if obviously when you have a new business, you have to apply for a business license for the town of Telluride. So looking at some of the newer, maybe smaller businesses and reaching out and asking a questionnaire, but short and sweet, but what kind of resources would be helpful and just looking at the amount that are applying and how many employees they have and where are they located. And I don't know, that might be interesting to find out directly from those people.
And I mean, maybe even doing a walk down Main Street and just stopping in, for staff or consultants, whoever, just to stop in at stores. If there's no one in the store at that point, ask whoever's there some questions and get them to kind of do a quick 2-minute in-person survey.
Yeah. Going back to our efforts to try and create a chamber of commerce. I've been associated with at least 6 of them. And it gets into the same issues as we have with housing and what we were just talking about, meeting space. And it's it's extremely difficult for, call them our business owners, who are putting in 60 and 70 and 80-hour weeks just trying to run their businesses, to either to both contribute time and money. And that was really the downfall of the Chamber of Commerce concept, because the national model is businesses contribute money to make the thing work, and they don't have it.
So there are, maybe exploring other approaches through this small business roundtable for that networking, connectivity, opportunity, exchange of resources. That is a non-cost.
Places to be.
And timing, right in the middle of July is not the time to ask for some more of their time.
Yes.
Right, that maybe in off season when everybody knows October or April is, you're breathing again,
And
You're both too new to understand survive July. That's a saying here. That it means something.
I will say, I've always worked in rural seasonal tourism economies, recreation focused economies. So we had a similar saying when I was working on Cape Cod, same type of environment. And yes, and the timing was always the most important for when we were planning events. And so that's something, as we talk about, when do we fit these in? We have a whole year. So we have a full cycle of time to
Yeah.
engage the right people at the right times. But that's really important for sure. Okay, great. Yes.
I heard at some point in council, and it might have been Dan that brought it up or referenced it, but we're supposed to do, or staff is supposed to do a survey of Colorado Avenue of what's service businesses and what's retail and what's public. And I don't know when we last did one because we've had so much turnover and turmoil. So it would be great to do that and have
Great
that
idea.
information.
Mhm.
And then we can also look to some of the changes that we think are coming, like if the town county building happens, but that's a couple of years out or whatever. So I think that would be a great thing to update.
Mhm.
Another thing that we could start now, or we could wait until we're done with this process. We used to have like a quarterly meeting, an informal lunch, let's say. It wasn't really a formal meeting and we didn't have, it was pre-Zoom and everything, of the Town of Telluride Planning Board, the County Planning Board, the Mountain Village Design Review Board, I think Ophir has a planning board and Saw Pit has a planning board in Norwood. And it was usually the town or the county that had meeting space, and everyone brought their lunches. We happened to do a lunch. We don't have to do it at lunch. And I thought those meetings were valuable. Todd's been to a few of them. But just the exchange, I mean, right now the county's using some of the same consultants we're using for one of their plans, does some of the synergy of getting to talk to each other kind of informally. It's probably against the rules or something, Ally can tell us, but it was really productive time and it wasn't costly.
Mhm.
But we have to have a space to meet. So that's. the
Just-
clue.
Just a follow-up question, because I know at the staff level, we engage, with other departments and across the region to a certain extent, and I'd love to see more of that at the staff level as well. Is what you're describing something that was happening between Planning and Zoning Commission members and staff, or just Planning and Zoning Commission members? What's the model, just so I can
I think
visualize
both
that?
staff And commission.
Great.
members.
Oh, that's
And I
wonderful.
don't know that we really had an agenda, but we might have,
Uh-huh.
it was kind of like who was doing long range planning or, who had, we could not talk about projects. We didn't
Yes.
try to, but what were the challenges and what was working?
One thing we were doing actually very similarly when I was working in Uray County, when I was in the city, we would bring together exactly like you're saying, like Ridgeway, the county, our staff, and we would do, I think it was quarterly updates where we'd all be asked to bring like a short, either verbal or visual presentation updates. And it would include the people you're describing, basically those key planning groups to come together and talk about next steps, plans. And so I like that because I didn't see it happening here in that way. But knowing that it used to is something that we can think about again. So thank you.
Sometimes that happens,
Yes.
that it fades because we get more staff that handle that kind
I
of thing, and you don't have to rely so much on the local idea pool, if you will, to solve problems. But I would agree that that's a valuable thing. A lot of us read what's going on in Mountain Village in the paper. And
Kodo and.
right,
They don't cover everything and.
Right.
Sometimes everything isn't really accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that we do that communication.
well, and
Yes.
actually establish relationships.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say the connection part
Yeah.
that you mentioned earlier of just the intention of coming together.
Yes.
And I did want to state that there were a couple of conversations around that on regional collaboration, where this is a comprehensive plan for the town of Telluride, but because of people commuting in as well as visitors, but also just like resources, that did come up quite a few times. And I think there's definitely validity in that. So,
Yeah.
It ought to come out of one of the discussion groups, but if it doesn't, we've got, I don't know what the current number is. 10 years ago, it was 139 nonprofits
Hmm.
registered in the county, of which at least 60 have dreams of some kind of space beyond
Mhm.
just the housing piece.
Sure.
And there are active strategic planning going on within a bunch of them about how to do some of this stuff, but it's not connected. And what we don't need is for a couple of $20 million fundraising campaigns to do things that have a 80% overlap. But that's the challenge of the nonprofit world here. And if we, through this process, can recognize some of that need and get it into the plan, maybe way ahead of the game. And I know the transfer warehouse is going to come up again. I'm saying that from the board side of Telluride Arts that what is approved and town staff knows is what was approved in the PUD got repriced, recosted, and went from a $15 million project to a $45 million project that choked the elephant. So between the town, Telluride Arts, and the other nonprofits, there's a big opportunity to come back to that, but it's going to require cooperation and putting aside some egos to get to some of the things that we were talking about earlier. I mean, I've talked to the library. If they had another program room, if they had this space, it would be full tomorrow.
Mhm.
If they had another office, it would be full tomorrow. You know, it's how do we combine that community need for things
Mhm.
that individually are hard to support, and financially they're really tough if there's not some,
Coordination.
well, not only coordination, but some way to share the cost and or provide a
subsidized.
subsidy to it.
You know,
Which, bond issues and lots of things are possible, but only if we're talking together.
and I think that's really critical. One of the roundtables today was bringing some nonprofits together, but I think from the discussions we've had and other groups have had during this weekend that we've talked about, bringing nonprofits together as another group like the small businesses to really have those needs assessment conversations. What are your space needs? How will you do the work you do and carry it forward sustainably? And how do we as a community support that, because we value you and we want to make sure that small businesses, nonprofits are part of this place. And I do agree that synergy, bringing groups together, it opens up doors to grant opportunities like funding possibilities in ways that alone are challenging. And we have such a limited land space to work with, so that more collaboration, if people were to buy into that, maybe things become possible that wouldn't be possible in the individual model. So Todd, I really appreciate that. I think this is the right time to have those conversations because we're looking at that big picture planning and how does it all fit together. And I would hate to lose any small business or any nonprofit because we haven't had these conversations and haven't heard their needs before they no longer can sustain themselves.
And I
So
don't think we have any data points that really relate to that, like how many do we really have? What functions do they provide that are sort of behind the scenes, but important networks and social
Mhm.
fabric and support, like the Resource Center or, one-to-one, or these other groups that we kind of take for granted,
Uh-huh.
and they all compete for our donations. There's a limit to that, but they provide super important services as well as just, make up that cultural fabric that we keep talking about that we might lose. So I think that's something to put on the consultant's radar
Absolutely.
to drill down to find
Mhm.
out what
The
the
data.
status is, that maybe, and see maybe how it's changed. And how could we engage those kinds of planning conversations with them?
I think that's terrific, and that we'll put that on the data gathering list. There are so many innovative models for, if we hear that need as part of this comprehensive planning process, which we're already starting to hear, but if that comes through as a strong need, I can say when I was running a big regional nonprofit on Cape Cod, the way we set up our office space, because we wanted those opportunities to network with other organizations. We wanted that collaboration. Is I could have had a separate office, but I chose to locate our headquarters within a co-working space, which included a number of other nonprofits and small businesses. And so every day you'd cross paths with others in the same field, and we would find ways to partner and support each other. And it really made a difference for each organization to be co-located. And that's something I don't see as much of in this region, but I'm hearing a need for things like that. So that's just one example, but I think there are so many creative ways, strategies that we could come together to figure out how to address those needs if they rise to the priority list, which it certainly seems just in 4 days, we're already starting to hear a number of things multiple times resonate in the community. So any other reflections on any of those topics that you want to make sure get out early? Yes, absolutely.
It's a feedback piece from the week, but how was Hispanic engagement this week?
Yes. So we did have, Rocio is a member of the engagement team, and she was present at all of the engagement events and sought out opportunities to be able to speak with those who are bilingual, or for whom, she could have more extensive conversations. And I know some of those took place during the first week. We also had translated, all of our posters and everything that were out, but we do, this is one of the high priority needs we've identified in our stakeholder groups. We are engaging representatives who have the networks to bring in more representation from our bilingual Hispanic population. And we plan throughout these next months and then leading into that phase 2 to have some really targeted community engagement events that are specifically engaging with Rocio.
So they haven't really kicked off that piece.
To a certain extent, just in our who came through
Yeah.
our open sessions in that big picture way, but not in a targeted way. And we really see a need, and we know the importance and the value of making sure early in this process that we have a high level engagement from our whole community. And so there are very targeted strategies that we're working towards to have those conversations, rich conversations early on. So if that's helpful, these first sessions were very open, and it was just the roundtables that had the specific invitations with representatives from groups that encompassed all stakeholders. But we want to be very targeted in our next engagement, and that comes into play with, going back to any number of groups we really want to make sure we are hearing from as we take that next step. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
That's so
thanks for
important.
asking that.
So important.
We need to keep that
Well, and
discussion.
the sensitivity
Mhm.
is through the roof
Yes.
because of what's going on nationally. That there's a
Very reluctant.
very reluctant to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to work with our community network,
We'll
and we've
be
already
just back
started
here.
to
strategies are.
Absolutely. And
that.
we've already started to bring in that engagement of leadership to help, you know, foster those connections and those conversations. And so, you know, early this first 4 days, but that is like an extremely high priority as we take these next steps in the next month or two. So thank you, Todd.
Any more on the plan update next steps? Yes,
There was something in your PowerPoint earlier, or maybe it was this morning, about it doesn't, you know, master plan's not about zoning or projects or whatever. But our master plan, I believe the 2006, called out special areas where we had opportunities in the
Yes.
town. One of them, Four Corners, is kind of done, except the transfer of warehouse is there and we're not sure where it's gonna go. Hopefully it's gonna stay a cultural thing.
Mhm.
But the AHA school and housing happened. There's, you know, high-end housing on one of the corners, and we still are retaining the bakery and the grocery store, which is needed in the middle of downtown. At the moment, they seem to be secure. So, I'm really proud that that worked out. We called it like I said, we called it Four Corners. But I hope that we'll identify the places where we still have the opportunities.
Mhm.
And there might be the things we're working on and, you know,
Absolutely. I think perhaps that was to distinguish between this is not a land use code, this is not a regulatory document, this is not that implementation of zoning. That will come the year after we finish this comp plan. We will do a full land use code update for that implementation piece of that specific aspect of the plan. But absolutely, Kathy, we already had, you know, we will have maps everywhere, and the group I was in for the first roundtable this morning, it was, you know, identifying those opportunity zones. Where are there opportunities for growth? Where are there opportunities for reinvention of existing spaces, or, you know, the layering of uses? And so 100%, that's so important. And we will end up with a future land use map coming out of this comp plan that is part of the comprehensive plan. But then to be able to implement on that, part of it will be zoning, part of it will be other implementation strategies,
I think actually
like
you
the
bring
land
up a
use
good
plan.
point, because I think we should revisit things that we've accomplished. And not just jump right into the new one, but we go back and say, okay, this is what we said we were gonna do, and we actually did accomplish some things. What didn't and what did is a good benchmark as they do their plan audit, if you will. I think it's important that we weigh in, and maybe things didn't go the way we wanted, and why was that?
Unintended consequences.
Yeah, and yet, you know, time passes, so things still happen. So, looking at the special areas plus accomplishments and threats.
yes.
You know, what that may be safe now, but what is it, if it's that important, is there a strategy we need to identify to keep it that as a community resource?
As I hear you suggest that, Angela, that's a terrific suggestion. And it is something we've been talking about with the consultants. But as I hear you bring that forth to this group, I wonder if you are interested, and this is up to you, but whether as we go through that exercise of looking back, staff and consultants, would you be interested as the Planning and Zoning Commission at being our sounding board of how do you feel we executed on this plan? Do you feel that we made progress?
I think
Might
that's
we
all
have
our
that
role.
work? May we have that work session as our next work session? Because we will be ready for that. And that would be invaluable to our team. Okay, excellent.
When you said threats, but I'd already had this on my little list. Our whole state is pretty much considered a wildfire zone these days. And certainly Lawson Hill and Mountain Village are more vulnerable than the town of Telluride per se. But I'm not sure the insurance companies are paying that much attention. I will say that the insurance for Society Term Business Center went up 5 times. And we had to make a hard choice to under-insure. And we have to figure it out going forward. But there's a threat to every single business and every single housing unit in this town. I don't care whether it's rental, town of Telluride rental, whether it's employee-owned units, deed restricted units, or it's
HOA.
HOAs, whatever, or the the, you know, most expensive houses, the insurance is gonna be astronomical. And I don't know how we deal with that as a community. It's a regional issue, but it's gonna be really important because it's gonna change everything.
I fully agree. I will say, there are various departments in the town, various staff members thinking about this topic, including our building, planning department, because it certainly impacts the built environment. We're hearing like with tree, permitting, like tree removal permitting, like that the trigger in some cases is they can't get insurance due to the trees being located too close to
And what does that
structures.
mean to our biomass?
What does that mean? So there are a lot, there's a lot in that area that should, in terms of the big picture comprehensive plan, there's a lot of complexity there and a lot of potential impacts. I can say my staff are engaged in discussions at the regional level. Other team members in other departments are also engaged in other ways, our fire, our large projects teams. And so we should have more to be able to report back in terms of where things stand, what the mapping, you know, because the mapping, we want more specificity in terms of how things are mapped. So I could give an update to the Planning and Zoning Commission, you know, either next month or the month after, as we're, you know, thinking through a lot of these topics and how they impact various elements of our community. So that's
Yeah.
important,
We love
absolutely.
trees, but we also
Absolutely.
hate our trees right now. It's really difficult.
And
And
it's so challenging.
grass fires are as big of an issue or more in our state. And the other thing our insurance people told us is the costs right now are based on the fire in the Front Range on the New Year's Day or Eve fire. They have not factored in Eaton or Palisade fires. And so, or Altadena, whatever you want to call it. When those factors in, it's probably going to make this next year's rates look cheap because that's going to bounce everything up again. So, I mean, this is a really serious thing. As
Mhm.
much as gentrification has hurt our town or whatever in terms of real estate costs, this might make all of that look like a moot point.
I will just mention that I'm very impressed by our building department and our leadership at the town level for the fact that we are far ahead in terms of sprinklers, fire sprinkler systems, and thinking about that and requiring that in our built environment. So that's one, you know, large step that this town has taken that not many communities have to the extent we have. So that's very forward thinking. And I hope that as we move forward with this bigger picture planning, you know, how can we be forward thinking and you know, protect safety first, of course, and then find that balance. So
Yeah.
really important topic as part of this.
Built environment that does not have sprinklers.
And this is true.
because were built prior to those requirements.
This is true.
The other thing is we don't have outside sprinkler systems to fire protect the buildings. I don't
That is-
see how that can work with our
Mhm.
climate versus Southern California.
Right.
So, you know, we do have some limitations.
We do, absolutely. So very important topic and definitely included in the mix.
I did want to piggyback
Yes.
on the word threat and then how that pulled into fire. I don't know if you had noticed when the consultants had pulled up some of the comprehensive plan and topics and the requirement around water supply and conservation. I think these are both threats and things to be considered. And I know you had pushed in the last meeting about revisiting the climate action plan. First of all, I did read it. The graphics are phenomenal. There is a lot of good data in there. I just want to say fires, but also that water and conservation, looping the community back in. People were kind of interacting with the word sustainability, but inside of that, really diving deep into all of these issues and seeing where we can kind of capitalize and promote would be a big deal. So.
I think just following on the word sustainability, I think that's one of the 3 words that came out of the vision plan. And I think there are so many layers to what that word means. And from what you were just sharing, Ben, to the small business and nonprofit sustainability, that long-term viability, I think how do we frame that that priority that so many people identified, because it really does encompass so much of what we're talking about here and really elevating that
Yeah.
piece of things. Thank you.
Okay, are
And
we,
Andrew-
yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah,
I think we've exhausted what we know right now, but things will come up.
excellent.
Is everybody good to go on? All right. Thanks, Kristen, Ben, for being out there. Everyone who attended some other items, that's great. I'm glad that our group is engaged.
Yeah.
That's super important. Board and staff discussion then. What do you mean by work sessions in August through December? That's the next item on the agenda.
Oh, I want to, as we're thinking about sort of two pieces to that, as we're thinking about the comprehensive plan, I think we just identified, for example, a work session opportunity for this group at our next meeting to talk about the past comprehensive plan and successes. So I sort of wanted your thoughts on ways we can utilize our time together to really take steps forward with the comprehensive plan, drawing from your extensive knowledge and experience as the consultants are working on their parts of the project. How can we move other elements forward? So, so that's one piece, and I think we already addressed that at least for our next meeting, and I'll keep asking you that question and we'll take steps forward together. The other piece, I actually checked on the timing with Lance and James from our large projects team to find out when work sessions would be coming through P&Z for some of our big town projects, because those will be coming down the pipeline in not too long. I think the first one we will see will quite likely be in the November timeframe. So, real focus on comprehensive plan right now, but knowing that some of those bigger projects include planning and zoning reviews, and there, some, things for us to work through
So
as a
you're
group.
saying separate from our regular meetings?
Nope, as part of your regular meetings, but I wanted to give you a heads up that we believe we will start those conversations as work sessions before we move into the formal public hearing process. This will be the early stage check-in points as we're still in the kind of moving out of the conceptual design into next steps with some of those big projects. So that was just a heads up that I wanted to make sure to give you.
I wanted to ask also about the retreat. That
Yes.
we're going to have that at the August meeting, right?
Actually, I have a question for you all. Based on, actually, I've been thinking about timing and summer and people's schedules and how much we're asking of you with the comprehensive plan. Would it be better for you to look towards the fall for our retreat for this group? Or would it be, would August be the best time? I know how busy the community is right now. So I don't want to add more since I just asked you for so many hours this week above and beyond your P&Z workload. So you tell me what you think is best, and then
I
we
don't
will
want us to
plan.
forget it.
And
I think there are some things we need to get off our chests
okay,
about
great.
about some basics.
Great.
How we conduct business. So I think that that's important. I
Okay.
don't want it to go past September. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so just a quick vote, August versus September.
Is it going to be part on the same day or part of our regular meeting?
We had talked about it being separate and sort of in a new space, but I would look to you if your preference is that the best way to have a retreat would be during a regular meeting time so that we're not adding.
But we talked about having it like an hour or two before the meeting.
We did.
Same day,
Yep.
like at 2 to 3
If-
or
if you were
overlap or
willing.
something, where we could be a little bit more casual
Yes.
and not be in this formal setting.
Yes.
Where we could, sit around a table and actually have some
Mhm.
an in-depth conversation. That would be my preference, because that's the kind of discussion, this is not conducive to real
In the
discussion.
timeframe for August, was Kathy had something in September, you had something in September, was that correct?
Yeah, I have an all-day class in September till 4 o'clock.
Mhm.
I'm available in August. I might have a class in October, but that's beyond Angela's time. I think part of what Angela's asking is a lot of us travel, or in my case, I have a lot of classes or teaching time that I can't negotiate on my way out of. So the further in advance we can know that
Yes.
the consultants are coming back and we need to be available with them, whether it's at a regular meeting or a separate meeting, and whether we could ever have them not clean and use the vacuum cleaner during one of our meetings. It's not even late. But we need to know 6 months out. I mean, I will say that would be really helpful for many of us.
Yes.
Plan, I can have better planning. I can't switch some of these classes, but
Absolutely.
yes.
So I think in terms of the comprehensive plan consulting team, they haven't yet finalized the dates they'll be back, but as soon as I know them, I will make sure I reach out to you and get a time frame on your calendars.
If all of
Um,
you have
and-
some restrictions.
Yeah.
Let's get those on the calendar.
And if August, before the August meeting is the time that works for all of you for a couple of hours, hour and a half before that meeting, we can just say that's the time. Otherwise, I can either pull you, or if you want to kind of pull out your calendars.
28th of August.
That works. That's the day before film festival starts. I don't have anything to do with film festival anymore, so that's simple for me.
Uh,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
hands, or let me know, nod.
I'm so good.
Good?
Yeah.
And Todd, is that workable for you?
Yes.
Let's just go for that. Then we're just done. Perfect. We will plan a wonderful retreat. So, yes,
Thank you.
yes, the 28th right
That will
before.
be inspired to come in and talk about our successes from, what we accomplished from the last master plan and what
Perfect.
we did not, and whether it was just political blow-ups or whether we were asking for the moon and we shouldn't.
Perfect. That sounds great. We're excited to have that retreat, and thank you for being willing to give your time in the summertime to that effort. So, thank you.
And thanks for giving us a heads up. If there are other things that are coming up from now until December, you've said pretty much.
Yes,
Let's make sure that we have,
as
you
soon
know,
as I know.
our meeting dates on calendars, and if there's weirdness, then that happens. That's life.
Great.
But, yeah, if we can make that commitment, because
And are there any private sector planning things in progress, or is it just really the town?
At this moment in time, the only things that will be coming towards P and Z are actually smaller scale, and they will be P and Z chair items, but there are not private projects that at this moment in time, and you never know what might happen tomorrow, but that are reaching the level of the full P and Z. The only ones I'm aware of currently are our big town projects, and I'm trying to look at those timelines and make sure we're queued up for those reviews. So, great, thank you.
Very helpful to know that.
yes, exactly.
And maybe in August, at either the retreat or the August regular meeting, you could report about, do like the HARC report of
Sure,
of
yes,
what we've done for the last year or two, because we have no idea.
I'll do that at the retreat. I think that would be a perfect time.
The building permits, all of that would be really interesting.
Cool. Let's plan on it.
That
We can
that
collaborate
also
on that.
Yeah, the time frame is also encompasses the holidays. So there is a project to our dates. We are meeting on the 20th of November. Thanksgiving is later, it's the following week. As opposed to the fourth Thursday in December is Christmas, so we are scheduled for the 18th.
Yeah, that's not what happens
Just
every year.
Everybody, yeah, exactly. So I just want to put those, because now we're in the planning window for that.
In November and December, Art and P and Z are back to back, both of
Yes.
those, just for your reference.
Yeah, that's a staff deal. So as part of our agenda, Kristen, are you saying we will have a comprehensive plan update piece every time, right? If,
Yeah, yes.
assuming we have
Absolutely.
something else, we'll have that, or it might just be only that.
It might be only that,
Right.
and on those times, I would love to use your time for work sessions, these
Right.
these types of
Yeah.
input sessions.
Very
Yes.
good.
What we've done in the past, when we've had long-range planning and project review, we do long-range planning first.
Yep.
Because otherwise, project review, and this is more of a HARC problem, but it's even been a problem for P and Z. project review can go till like 9 o'clock and then everyone's cross-eyed and the
Mhm.
long range planning might actually be more important. So we do it first and then the project review has to fit in. And that keeps them from being too long.
Great, thank you for that. We will follow that model.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anything else, anyone? Okay, then I believe we are adjourned at 6:44 PM with unanimous consent. Thanks for being here, Ally. You for a while. I was thinking, uh-oh,